Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So this is your first physical Phocuswright conference,
This
correct?
is my first Phocuswright, yeah.
Okay,
Pretty exciting just to see people in real life is good.
This is great, but a lot of people would like to get to know you a little better.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to actually begin with a kind of fill in the blank.
Okay.
As opposed to end with that. So,
Okay.
so we get it over with.
Yeah,
it's
let's
all
do it.
done.
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm sick of talking about.
Flexible work.
Okay. So I want to ask that question. I'm going to just take that question, right? Okay.
I could put vaccines too. We could do that, but yeah.
I don't know. You sick of that one too?
As relates to work.
As relates to work. Okay. If I wasn't for the pandemic, I would have.
Been retired. I don't know. That's a good one. I would have met all my employees by now.
Yeah, I bet you're doing that now, though.
I'm trying. Yeah. Can't get everywhere, but we're trying.
Yeah. It was a good time to retire as well, though.
It would have been.
A lot of people did.
Yes, I would have enjoyed that.
The subscription model is?
Great for television.
It is. I love my streaming. The biggest buzzword of the day is?
Oh my God. I don't know. I would go back to hybrid, I think, but I don't know. Does anybody have a good buzzword?
What's a good buzzword? I have personalization, meta.
Oh, meta. I'll go with meta because I don't know what it means, and that's
like an old buzzword.
Yeah. But it's like new again. It means new things now.
How about fintech? Is that one?
Well, fintech's certainly buzzy. Some of it's probably buzzword, and some of it's probably buzzworthy. So I don't know.
And finally, if I wasn't here right now, I'd be
at home in Wyoming, I suspect, or somewhere.
Or maybe at a meeting somewhere else.
I'd be in another. I'm be in New York tomorrow with our team in New York. So maybe New York. I'd be there earlier.
So everybody, of course, had a lot to worry about personally and professionally. But when you're steering a $100 billion gross booking ship, there's a lot to worry about. So you had a lot on your shoulders. So the question is, what did you worry about during the pandemic that now looking back, you said, well, maybe I didn't really have to worry about that after all?
Well, I think in the beginning, we worried about money, and we raised a bunch of money, right. A lot of which we've now paid back. And it was relatively expensive, and I wish we hadn't had to have done it, but it would have been foolish not to. So you kind of look back and say, in that period where things seemed really grim, we all did things across the industry, cruise companies, airlines, everybody had to do things which, in retrospect, we may have done more than we had to from a capital standpoint. But I haven't worried about that in a while. I don't worry about that. I was never really worried about travel coming back. That was, I think, hard for a lot of our employees to understand, but I think maybe age gives you a little perspective. Crises happen, things recover. I was in New York when 9/11 happened. Everyone counted New York out, and then of course it boomed for 20 years. Right. So I was sort of always felt good about that. So I think probably the money side, just having enough capital, but otherwise I don't know.
So that all worked out. I mean, yeah.
Knock something, yes.
Yeah, of course. Can't take anything for granted these days. So, the question is, did Expedia tap the brakes too much, right? Because you had the little money issues, and not issues, but concerns. You want to save money. Obviously, you're not going to waste money on marketing. So you pull back on, performance marketing, and now you want to ramp up, and it's kind of hard to find the signals. Of course, we had a lot of positive signals in the summer, and you see the bookings, where they're headed, and of course we have the holidays and whatnot. So now you need to ramp up all of a sudden really fast.
Well, I would say we ramped as the business ramped. In terms of pulling out of Google or performance marketing, that was largely to do with just the dip in demand. As it came back, yes, we were probably on the conservative side because you didn't know where the bumps were coming, and we did some tactical things. We got out of VR Meta with Verbo because we just thought it wasn't valuable. we were certainly making a lot of changes in our meta teams to be more efficient. But we will roll back with the business, and as demand has increased, I sign off on all those big checks, and we're sending those people some big checks. So, we intend to be aggressive. We intend to use performance marketing to its greatest effect, but we also intend to be better in all parts of our business so that we're stickier for customers, our retention's higher, more of them become members, and all of that makes it much more profitable and interesting to be in performance marketing, to fish for new customers. So we'll keep at it.
So rev that up.
Yeah.
Okay. So Agencia, of course, so when Agencia was launched, or not launched because it was purchased many moons ago, I don't remember exactly when, and it was kind of to fill the mid-market, if I recall in the beginning, and then became more of a TMC in and of itself. What brought on that decision for Expedia to say, I don't want to be in the TMC business anymore?
Yeah, I would say for us it was really, we said from the time I got involved, even before the pandemic, that we wanted to simplify the business and that we were too complicated, had too many lines of business, and certainly part of that was driven historically by acquiring a lot of things, not always integrating them, and not always having like a long-term plan anymore that made sense for them. But like a lot of companies, we were not very good at admitting defeat on certain things. Now, on Agencia, we did great. So there were some businesses we needed to do something with and get simpler. And on Agencia, it was really a question of, do we want to have to figure out every endpoint, or do we think a corporate-focused TMC like Amex GBT could do a better job with the technology and the assets, staying focused on the endpoint customer, which is very different than all our other customer use cases. Right. And we were more interested in powering our broad focus on powering the industry, which means powering corporate too with our supply and technology, but not necessarily owning our own, but being more of a distributed technology and supply that helps power the rest of the industry. So it was very on strategy for us. I
have to say, it seems to be a win-win because you have this 10-year agreement, right, to provide the supply. You have a stake in the business still. Mm-hmm. Is there more to come with Amex?
I think there's, well, I don't know about Amex, big Amex, but we have many partnerships with them on a bunch of fronts. But as far as corporate goes, I think, as we continue to improve on our technology and deliver more, we believe, to the distribution market writ large, including corporate, including regional OTAs, offline, everything, we believe we will have technology solutions that will better serve Amex GBT than maybe their own technology, and we'll be able to help make them more efficient, make them more effective, and give them tools. So, TBD, we got a lot of work to do, but we believe greatly in our ability to keep driving more externalizable technology.
Yeah, because in terms of partnerships, I thought it was interesting you said on the earnings call that, in many ways, like we're in Latin America, we're in Europe, but it's not consumer facing, right? We're powering other businesses. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, well, Despegar is here. We own a piece of Despegar. Damian is here. Maybe he left before me. Not worth sticking around for, but yeah, we have many partnerships. We have partnerships in Asia. We have regional OTA partnerships. We have big rewards and bank reward program partnerships, U.S., Canada, many places. So we're involved. Our B2B business is a great, large business, and that business has come back very strongly. Now, obviously, subject to the same regional issues. Latin America is worse than North America. APAC's worse than Latin America. We're all somewhere in the recovery trend, but that has given us, filled in gaps for us historically, and I think we're quite content in places where we don't think we're in a good position to compete for the consumer to be partnered with great partners in those markets.
Okay. Because talking about regional issues, right? So, for Expedia versus Booking, obviously you didn't have the same international presence. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic, and then whatever international presence there was, really got hit. So now, as you think about ramping up that international piece of it, which, of course is so big through partnerships and also through the Expedia brand, like, how do you do? Are you targeting certain markets now? How does that work?
Yeah, I think historically we fought that kind of in a peanut butter approach, and I think we are much more focused now on having focused strategies in specific markets where we think we can win and where we think we can really go on offense. And as we develop those strategies and hopefully succeed at them, we will roll them out in more places. I think historically we just sort of said Europe or Asia, and we kind of peanut buttered the whole thing. And we want to be much more direct and intentional about where we go, why, how we wire it end to end for demand and supply. And I think, I hope that will be very effective. We believe in it, and we're definitely going to do it.
Can you give us some examples?
No.
I thought I'd ask.
That was already more than I wanted to share.
No, that's good. So the other thing that happened too is the shift away, and it seems like a shift away from local activities, and at least in owning your own supply, right? Working with partnerships. Was that a pandemic-induced decision? And can you talk about how you thought that through? I mean, did you say like, oh, this activities we thought was going to be bigger than it is, or this market, but maybe now it's a little too incremental for Expedia to kind of own the supply, or is this just a tactical thing?
Yeah, I would say it was a logic-induced decision, not a pandemic-induced, but it really, we as a company are trying to be much more disciplined about doing the things we are good at and have a right to be great at or best at, and partnering with people when we're not in that position. And that could go for technology, it could go for supply, it could go for a lot of things. I think we realize that indeed activities are very important to our future, not just an ancillary whatever, but we believe in activities, not so much just for the pure economics of a given activity, but because people who book trips with us often want activities, and we should provide them, we should make it easy for them, that should be in the app, they should have great supply, and rather than, okay, we didn't put enough into our supply organization, we have to go chase more supply, and it's going to take us X many years, we concluded that by partnering, we could get great supply in and be in a better position to serve the customer. And if we left a few dollars on the table, that was okay.
Okay. All right. You still think it's a big opportunity for Expedia?
I do. I mean, we're in the travel business. Most people purchase more than one thing when they travel. From us, they purchase many things. I think we are focused on being an app-first company, on being, a real app that you want with you when you travel all the time. And for me, the real opportunity to give people great content, great activities, things they can do while they're traveling, while they're on a trip, all of those pieces are powerful. So it's really not so much because, we did the math and it's worth $22 million or something. It's because we believe for the customer experience to be great, having that product is really beneficial for the customer.
All right. So obviously the bright spot's been Verbo. Great business. It's, I have to admit, when you change the name from HomeAway to Verbo, several of us are very skeptical. And all of a sudden, boy, people it just comes right off. It's very easy to say. You've done some great brand marketing, and just how to say that. But
wait, and where are you staying this week? At a Verbo.
But I love Airbnb too, so it just I just clicked.
You don't have to love us both. You can just love Verbo. It's fine. Verbo is better.
And that actually leads to a question. So when I was talking to Peter earlier, and I was talking about, and you look side by side, and you look at hotels, and you look at, and this is something for a leisure piece of a trip, and now you look at rentals. In some markets there's not the supply, in some markets the hotel would make sense, and we had an earlier session about, well, in some instances obviously a hotel makes sense, but sometimes a rental makes sense as well. But when you're doing a search, it still seems to be like I'm going on Verbo to do a search for a rental, or I'm going on Expedia because I'm thinking hotel. And is that intentional, or is that because it's just really tough to get this, especially the by owner inventory integrated into the hotel inventory?
It's a good question. There's a lot of complexity in elegantly combining those, and there's a lot of debate and unclear research about whether customers actually prefer it combined or actually do what you do, which is, I know this use case is I want a house, and I know this use case is I want a hotel. So I think we're migrating everything to a place where it can and will potentially all be in one searchable stack. That's been a goal of ours for a long time, not least because we want to wire Verbo through to our B2B partners. We want to wire it through to our OTA brands. We have markets where our OTA brands are strong, but our Verbo brand has not yet landed or become material. So there's a lot of opportunity for us in that. But for us, it's really about what's the consumer experience and what does the consumer want. And if we find that it's a better experience by putting them in one stack, that'll be great. If we find that it's better separate, we'll do that, even within an OTA potentially. So I think we want to let the consumer behavior drive that answer and give the consumer choice.
So is it more of a technical issue? I mean, I understand you.
It's a lot of technology
It's a real
issues.
technical issue.
There's also, yes, I mean, if you look at most OTAs that have VR, including us, that's instantly bookable. It's all easy. The world of reserve and see if the owner okays it is a totally different set of transactions, and they're not easily mingled. So there's technology work going on to do that. But again, it's really not so much can we solve it technologically? We can. The real question will be, what does the customer want the experience to be, and how do we make that good for them?
Right. And how would hotels feel about that?
I think hotels feel fine. I mean, listen, nobody's a bigger supporter of hotels than we are. We believe in hotels from the, I remember in the early earnings calls when everyone would say, oh, Verbo's doing great, Airbnb's doing great, but hotels terrible, and what do you think's going to happen to hotels? And I was always the first one to say, hotels will be back. There are a zillion use cases for hotels. People are going to want to go back to resorts and whatever, beachside place they're at, get a sauna, get a massage, get room service. And the hoteliers would write me and be like, thank you, so we believe in hotels. Hotels are terrific, and I think they know we believe in them, and we want to create a great marketplace for them. And I think all the things we are doing in loyalty, to expand our brands, to simplify our brands, and to build on our technology stacks to power them better are all things that they appreciate. And I think there's a real sense of partnership. I think COVID, I don't know about everybody here, but I think COVID has kind of put us all in a bucket where we're all aligned in the, hey, this has been tough, common enemy, we got to get out of this, and let's figure out how to work together, focus on the stuff we're each good at, and help each other. And I think there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. So there's been some, I don't know, criticism is quite the word, but Expedia's not innovative enough, right? We've been hearing this for years. You've been hearing it for years, and you yourself admitted it in some way. So why is that, and what's being done to change that, whether it's a reality or a perception? What's being done?
Oh, no. I mean, an enormous amount of effort and calories are being put in to change that, including in some cases people. We have a great new CTO who's doing an amazing job. She's brought in a great team. We have a lot of new energy. We have a lot of people that have been here a long time who we've put on new things or raised up and promoted on and changed scope. So we're putting an enormous amount of effort into the idea that if we can simplify and turn our stack into something really powerful. It's been each brand was its own business. There was a lot of complexity. We are cleaning up that complexity so we can drive velocity again. And next year for us will be about a lot of that work plus the innovation that comes on top of it.
You're so big. How do you innovate when you're so big?
We have great technologists. We have people that are really interested in improving the product and making the experience great. I mean, I talked about being app first. We're so big, but app was kind of secondary to us. And it doesn't take a genius, someone smarter than me to know that apps are the way of the future, at least until Meta shows up or whatever. So I think we're just leaned into the places where we think the app's going to be a big differentiator. We have more travel data than anybody in the world, pretty much, and we think that's a powerful thing. But we've never been able to personalize adequately because of our complexity. We've never been able to give that experience to customers. So I think the opportunities abound to innovate for the customer's benefit, and we intend to do that.
Are you going to be a super app?
I think it will be a super app, which is not to say it also does my banking or orders my food, but it will be super. And I don't know where super apps will be and which geographies, but we just want to make a great, great travel app, the go-to travel app that everybody wants by their side when they're on the road.
You know, we're almost out of time. I know this is going to go really fast. So I just have one more fill in the blank.
Okay.
I'm glad I wasn't asked about.
I think I was, but I would say booking. I hate talking about them.
Yeah. Okay, no comment here, but ladies and gentlemen, Peter Kern.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.